Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the Ultima monthly licensing webinar regarding Microsoft licensing. My name is Ian Gerard. I'm one of the Microsoft licensing consultants here at Ultima, and you can see my contact details on the first page there. But thank you very much for joining this month. We are going to be reviewing the Microsoft FY22 results. And a little bit some of the things Microsoft have been saying in regards to what their mission statement and focus is and strategy will be for the coming year, and how the customers can potentially take advantage of knowing that. And what I'll be doing is running through what this could potentially mean. I will also run through some other updates in regards to new Microsoft products and other Microsoft updates and recent news. So we will cover everything that you see on the agenda there, from kind of the funding areas to the focus areas and where those incentives may be. There will be time at the end for questions, so do please let me know if you have any. Look, as always, these webinars are high level because every unique organization is going to have their own challenges or their own strategies, and kind of aligning them to Microsoft, closely or a little bit further apart will have a varying impact. So probably this comes alive for you once you start, contact me directly, contact your Ultima account manager, your licensing specialist, and we can kind of run through this in relevance directly for yourself. So of course, the idea being that this will generate some questions, generate some thoughts, perhaps make some notes, but this is really going to come alive once you start looking at it in a direct one-to-one way. But hopefully this will be a good insight. I did want to start with covering off some of the major changes. When we look back across, I don't even know we are now in September, when we look back at Microsoft's last financial year, which runs from the 1st of July until the 30th of June. So FY22 is where we've just kind of come from. And there was an introduction. There was some major kind of licensing changes, major licensing news, which I think is important to bear in mind. There was the introduction of the new commerce experience with Microsoft, the NCE, the impact on the cloud solution platform as a licensing program. The big one being the fact that was the introduction of a 20% premium if you wanted to keep the monthly flexibility. So if you wanted to be able to decrease your licenses on a monthly basis, the introduction of the NCE in FY22 meant that there was now a 20% premium to do that. What we were able to do was secure a price point for a lot of customers, which has delayed the impact of that change until March 2023. But that was one of the big impacts of the new commerce experience. Offering up a new route for Azure and some additional support potentially with that. With the introduction of the NCE meant that there was just another layer, another option for customers to procure their support, and another option for customers to procure their actual consumption of Azure as well. Certainly, Ultima invested a lot in regards to our optimization and management services around that. And legacy as well, though mentioned before, this did actually, funnily enough, the introduction of the NCE did actually push quite a few people to legacy, just because they wanted to maintain that consistent price point and have that risk-adverse price point for at least another 12 months. Because yes, there was a price increase back in March. From March the 1st, there's a price increase between kind of 8.5% to 20% on all of the cloud products. This was something that Microsoft said was the first price increase for 10 plus years. Product price increase is how they argued, after a decade of innovation. That kind of Microsoft 365 suite growing from 6 products to kind of over 20 products. There have been other price increases that they've called them currency fluctuation or harmonization or various other guises. But again, because of a lot of customers were securing the price point prior to the 1st of March 2022, and was the reason why I am talking about it now, and certainly if you've got a renewal coming up in the next 12 months, is that all of these price increases are going to be impacting you over the next 12 months. Certainly, ultimately, we did a lot of work to defer this back in March, when the price increase happened, when the 20% premium happened. But this is all just deferred up until March 2023. So if you've got an enterprise agreement or any other kind of renewal, these are the challenges, the major changes in 2022 that you're going to have to now deal with in 2023. Maybe you've already dealt with them. In regards to the licensing changes and all of those kind of cost increases, Microsoft did introduce a whole new swathe of smaller mini kind of E5 suites. And they did put some additional benefits into the software assurance. So if you were buying active software assurance, they were removing the benefits which, you know, customers have traditionally used, like the training vouchers, the 24/7 problem resolution support being removed from software assurance benefits to training vouchers. But that's kind of been replaced with things like license mobility, the ability to host these servers within your cloud environment without having to pay for the license again, so that kind of hybrid use benefit. So there's been a development in the software assurance benefit to kind of push customers towards the cloud, saying that actually you can flip this on-premise license into a cloud license. So whereas previously software assurance benefits from Microsoft were all around, hey, you've got the license, now use it with a deployment planning services day. Oh, you don't know how to use it, here's some training vouchers. Whereas now they want customers to basically get off on-premise and go to the cloud. The software assurance benefits, the mini cloud suites, all of these licensing changes are designed for that. That's certainly what we saw in FY22, and probably what we will continue to see. I'll show you we will continue to see in the next 12 months as well. We did go through the end of the year in June of this year, you know, it's a funny statement to make it. So we did the end of the Microsoft financial year, and we noticed, as always, interesting things in regards to discounts. We saw and maybe as a customer, you saw this as well. Maybe you were having these conversations, maybe you were deciding between buying something or not buying something. Discounts, we saw a significant reduction in E3 discounts. We saw a highly incentivized structure around E5. So if a customer is investing in the Power BI Pro, Teams telephony, that kind of Microsoft Defender, that E5 level of security, that full E5 suite, Office 365 E5, Microsoft 365 E5, that's where we saw the discounts. That's where we saw the discounts, and on Dynamics, which again, all stuff I will come on to later, but just good to review. That's what we saw certainly towards the end of the year. That we're not saying we didn't see any discounts for E3, but certainly single digits, whereas with E5, depending on the size of your organization. I'm not going to give the full detail here, but you can speak to us. We can give you those guidelines on what to expect, and certainly continuing to see that. In regards to funding from Microsoft in FY22, and actually I'll just build this out. There was funding. Usually by the end of the year, the majority of that has gone. That was certainly the case this year. Microsoft are obviously refilling those pots for the next 12 months with Fast Track and the MCI workshops and some of the other elements I'll come on to later. But we did see less discounts on E3. We saw less funding, or those pots being depleted further. What we did see an increase of was concessions. Was actually Microsoft turning around to the customer and then providing them with a variety of different concessions, whether that was a second or a third tenancy, whether that was the financial services addendums, whether that was the ability to deploy a previous version of an on-premise. You know, you buy the cloud license, you have to deploy the latest version of the previous version. We were seeing concessions from Microsoft allowing customers to potentially deploy, you know, 2016 Exchange 20, something like that, if they just needed to for a set period of time. So in place of these pricing incentives, in place of kind of giving you a wad of money, we were seeing a variety of concessions, 5-year term agreements, especially with things like the price increase. That's where we were seeing a lot more of that type of activity from Microsoft regarding the concessions. And they also introduced a late renewal penalty of 3% for enterprise agreement customers. If you're a cloud CSP customer, probably not so relevant to yourself, but this is, you know, for the first time, Microsoft's 30-year history, whatever, it was the introduction of a 3% late renewal penalty, which is very interesting. Again, just does build into them wanting customers to kind of renew on time. But there is a lot of insight and interest we can take from the results for Microsoft's FY22, and you may or may not have seen these. This may or may not be something that's directly of interest for yourself. I do think it is interesting, which is why I'm going to go a bit higher here, just to kind of put in some context in regards to kind of Microsoft's financial results and their growth from FY22. Microsoft have always slightly outperformed the broader market, and generally over the pandemic, we've actually seen Microsoft really perform strongly. Certainly back in when it all kind of started back in October 21, the company was really boosted by a strong quarter as people started to obviously use technology more from working from home. Did plateau a bit, but generally speaking, by the end, by the time we get to kind of July 2022, Microsoft stock and what have you, and results are a really high level. Revenues continue to grow, but the fact is that it is a far slower pace than ever. This time, so kind of looking at Microsoft's results, they've got a revenue growth of 12%. There's still kind of 40% growth in there. Market share is still really high. But some of the interesting things that I want to kind of focus on is how you as the customer can take advantage of these results and what they could potentially kind of mean when we kind of come into 2023. It's all very well and good talking about Microsoft in general having being 9.3% ahead of the rest of the market, etc. But really, if we look at this time last year, Azure had roughly 22% of the global cloud market. Yep, behind AWS, but that whole cloud computing area is growing hugely. It's growing really quickly. Azure is growing even faster than that. Certainly, Microsoft's fastest growing product still. It's growing at the fastest pace within Microsoft. But Microsoft still absolutely want to compete. Still competing hard with AWS, but also Google Cloud as well. But the important thing is here, though, the market share is great and everything, but previously Azure was just over the previous 12 months was at 51% growth. Now that growth's gone down to 40%. So actually, the rate of growth has massively started to slow down, really. And Satya Nadella has come out and said, all cloud revenues, but specifically Azure, is something that Microsoft will continue to invest heavily in. In actual fact, it gave the market a lot of stability to hear them say that. Where there's other challenges, cost of living challenges, and all of the general instability within the market. With Microsoft have come out and said, right, well, in 2023. FY 2023, what we're going to do is take advantage. We're going to build that share. We really want to focus on building that Azure market share. So we're actually, during this period of huge and economic uncertainty, we are going to invest, we are going to build, and we are going to take share. So that's something that is really important to understand where Microsoft want to do that. They want to kind of do that across 6 key areas that I'll come on to later. But bringing this background is, if you want to take advantage of Microsoft, the best of your ability to enter that kind of long-term strategic relationship with them, but then make sure you're getting the funding, make sure you're getting a good pricing incentive, make sure you're getting the concessions that you need. It is to understand where Microsoft are putting their attention in those kind of 6 key areas, because they've just effectively experienced a good year, growth, of course, but over the last, the FY22 had the smallest increase in growth, the smallest return over the previous 5 years, certainly since before the pandemic happened. So that's something which I think is important to kind of understand where Microsoft are putting their putting their kind of focus and attention. And these are those 6 kind of key core areas. There was actually something, when I was just going to go a little deeper on some of those results from FY23, and I will bake them in later. But when it comes to specifically licensing, we have seen E5 is now up to 12% of the entire install base with Microsoft, but they want it to be far, far higher. Security revenue overall is up 40%, which is great for them and where they want to be, and you can see it there as a focus area, key focus area for the next 12 months. Actually, over in FY22, Office on-premise usage was down 30%. Again, a key area for Microsoft in their modern work strategy. But look, as we go through those kind of focus areas, if you're thinking, well, how can I take advantage? You're going to be doing some of these to some extent or another. And this is where it's really going to be beneficial for you to talk to somebody, account manager, one of our architects, consultants, myself, a licensing specialist, to kind of really explore where the opportunity is here. When we talk about data and AI, really Microsoft have AI as an integral part of their own digital transformation. And quite simply, they want customers to very much do the same. So we're talking about products like Azure Synapse, Azure Purview being this kind of brand new family that provides this unified data governance and risk management solution. So it's actually previously called kind of Lockbox, but it's around kind of securing that data, putting keys and locks around that data for you, and then using it for your own digital transformation, your own organization's digital transformation. Azure kind of on their twice, infrastructure and digital and app innovation, both different. Infrastructure being the IaaS, PaaS, SaaS solutions continue to be a major focus. We already spoke about how it's the fastest growing product within Microsoft still. They see it as a key strategic market share solution area. Ultimate done a huge amount of investment. There's a shed ton load of funding around the Azure infrastructure as well. Really not going anywhere. But then you've also got Azure digital and app innovation as well, which is when we start thinking about how every organization potentially is a technology organization, without getting too cheesy about it all, is that you've got your competitors within your space, and you're going to be developing, or you will potentially want to develop your own app unique to your own industry, unique to your own challenges. But you can be certain that your rivals, your competitors, are going to be doing the same. So actually, you need to think of yourself as your own app innovators, and actually think of yourself as, well, we are going to be at the forefront of change. We want to be at the cutting edge of change. We don't want our competitors to develop apps, and so it's all around getting on that front foot, and Microsoft providing the list of products potentially for that as well. So we're kind of talking about things like GitHub, we're talking about things like Power Apps with that digital and app innovation piece. And that's just built out further with the business applications. I mean, business applications are basically talking about Dynamics 365. You can maybe wrap the common data service and some of the other Power Platform, Power Stages within there, but essentially it's I don't want to oversimplify it, but that's Dynamics 365, which is really relevant for some customers and really not relevant for others. Microsoft's got a whole team with their own forecasts and their own targets to hit. So you can get we're going to go and buy Microsoft 365 E5. Fantastic. Let's get you a 15 to 20% discount on that. But actually, we want to buy Dynamics 365 as well, and a load of other products. Well, those other products will just sit underneath at a lower or non-existent discount level. But Dynamics itself will actually achieve a higher discount. And look, we're always caveating this. We're always caveating this regarding what we may or may not be able to get. So don't take this as written. But we see kind of 30% plus discounts on Dynamics 365 if you're willing to sign up for like a 3-year long agreement. But actually, that's a really interesting point, which I should not underplay. It's about how Microsoft are incentivizing their field staff and their own their own employees to do all of these 6 key core areas. You know, Satya himself kind of announced that they have for FY23 specifically incentivized their field staff to optimize a customer's Azure usage. So as you may think, oh, Microsoft want our consumption to get off the charts, and they want us to move our on-premise server infrastructure to Azure because it's not going to save you money necessarily. But actually they are now incentivizing their field staff to optimize. And we as partners, we're seeing it as well. You know, we're an expert partner with part of the AMP accreditation, one of a handful within the UK, but we get given a load of money from Microsoft as a partner to help you as a customer to make sure you're doing sensible and clever things to manage and maintain and reduce costs and achieve optimization and rationalization and all that kind of great stuff. But it's not overnight, and it's across the board. I got distracted. We also then have the 5th area, which is modern work, which again really is that Microsoft 365 estate. It's your productivity service, you know, Exchange Online. I mean, basically it's E5, right? Microsoft want to sell more E5, but then you have, you know, the Windows Desktop, the Windows Enterprise E5. You have the Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite E5 with Active Directory Premium Plan 2, or you know, Defender, right? Cloud app, Defender for cloud apps, Defender for identity, Defender for 365. And that modern work is all around Microsoft still wanting to incentivize customers to go to E5. They want that. And finally, Defender. I say Defender always off the bat is E5 security, which is that Defender, Microsoft Defender. And again, we are seeing Microsoft put a lot of the funding into all of those areas. Specifically, we can see on there the security assessments. Fast Track is Fast Track. It's changed a lot. There's been successes and there's been times when it hasn't worked so well, right? I've had customers who have really, really taken advantage of it, and the amount of resource that is available is extensive and it's good. It's the customer doing the work, supported by experts. No money in the door, no feet on the ground, but lots and lots and lots of expert and extensive support. You then have the MCI workshops for FY23, which is across so many areas. MCI standing for Microsoft Cloud Incentives, was formerly known as NCAP. They were still called MCI last year as well anyway, but you've got, you know, employee experience MCI workshops, you've got modern work MCI workshops, you've got security MCI workshops, which are then further broken down into whether you want to look at, you know, identity or this or that. But effectively, whatever you're looking to do, as long as it's part of one of those 6 core areas from Microsoft that we covered off previously, there will be a workshop for you to do, for you to explore. And then probably going to be some funding, some pricing incentive, depending on the commitment you're willing to make afterwards. In regards to licensing in 2023, we mentioned those products, but Microsoft still very much want to move all customers. I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's worth covering. We want to move all customers to that subscription model. You know, they want to move customers to the cloud. They call it moving it to the subscription, but it's moving you on away from the on-premise, long-term perpetual licensing towards the cloud, which obviously the vast majority of organizations have now done. But there are still some. So that move to subscription isn't going away. Funnily enough, we mentioned how we saw in FY22 more and more concessions, more and more 5-year agreements and things out in the ordinary, Microsoft changing the terms and conditions. Now, obviously Microsoft being Microsoft and never contradicting themselves, they now want to return to all standard pricing terms and licensing practices. So no sooner have they been granting all of these that they've turned around to the partner community and said, well, we need to actually stop doing this. So actually being able to take advantage of that, being able to do the co-terming, actually being able to simplify your licensing and contractual requirements is something that Microsoft are actually going to want to be really interested to talk to you about. You know, getting them away, you know, Microsoft are very busy at the end of their year. They're very busy at their mid-year in December. They've actually said, we need to manage our contractual and licensing resources better. So if you as an organization have a December renewal coming up, Microsoft will happily talk to you to get that renewed early, get it out of their peak busy times. They want to then, if you've got multiple contracts with multiple concessions, they want to consolidate this down as much as possible, co-term as much as possible, which actually for you as a customer, for us as a partner, for anyone in kind of licensing and asset management is a big tick. Yes, please. They want to reduce the quarterly revenue disparity. Again, customers have always taken advantage of Microsoft's year end. Deals, you get deals at year end, you get deals in June. So you have a huge number of deals renewing in June. So what Microsoft want to do is they want to talk to any customer who's happy to move their renewal dates to spread that revenue out across the year a little bit more, but not to your detriment. So if you're thinking, well, if I renew early, I'm going to be double licensed for a period, potentially. But let's, Microsoft is saying, let's come to the table and discuss that. Now, again, all of that will come a lot more alive once we kind of look at your own unique scenarios. What I'll cover off now is the other Microsoft updates, the other new products that are available. These slides will be made available in PDF form, so don't feel like you have to make extensive notes or what have you on this one. I'll just quickly run through what these changes are. So we have, on the 1st of September, there was a new Microsoft Teams licensing structure come out. I don't know if you saw it, whereas previously you had Microsoft retried. Yes, they were retried. Retired Teams Room Standard and Premium, moved to Basic and Pro. Basic is free, but effectively it's, doesn't really have a huge amount of functionality. You can basically walk into the room, log into the device and join a meeting. That's about it. It's got no presence, no phone system license, can't make outbound calls, can't invite people in, people can't dial in. So really, we have a vast majority of those customers on Teams Room Standard are going to have to move to Teams Room Pro. Teams Room Standard, give or take £15 per device per month. Pro, 30, double the price. So there we go. Exchange server roadmap. So there is going to be a new version of Exchange. It will continue to be kind of licensed on that server CAL model, but it's only going to be available to those, you have to buy it with active software assurance. And the next actual version of Exchange Server is going to be 2025. Then there's a new product within Viva. Viva Goals is now generally available. Actually, Viva's been a big success. Microsoft have said that they've seen a large number of users kind of start to use it, and they are going to continue to bring out new modules. I think you're going to see a lot of interesting movement in regards to Viva Goals and the Viva product over the next 12 months. It's not part of that wider M365 suite. It does sit entirely separately to it. But I think there might be some interesting development over on that product over the next 12 months. There's a new pay-as-you-go option for Power Automate. There's, if you were previously a frontline worker, with the much reduced F plans on Microsoft 365, you kind of had to have a screen no larger than 10.1 inches. That has now been increased to 10.9. Software assurance benefits retiring, I mentioned previously or covered previously how we've seen all of that, and the 24/7 putting resolution of support tickets can be transferred around, but really they all kind of go on the 1st of February 2023. So if you have some, we've got support issues, and please do come and speak to us. Come and speak to your Ultima account manager. We can help. I think that pretty much brings the slides to an end. I don't know if there have been any questions. I hope that was useful. And like I say, the slides will be made available, as will the recording. And thank you very much for your time today.